Hi class, and welcome to our video lesson on 8.3. We're talking about circles today, and specifically the equation of a circle. So we're going to be reviewing a lot of things from what you learned in geometry in Chapter 10. Chapter 10 was all about circles, so hopefully that stuff will become somewhat familiar to you as we go through this. So here's our equation of a circle. It's x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared. That equals the radius squared. Now I want you to notice something with this equation. First of all, the center is at HK. So H being right here and K being right here. Now a lot of people can kind of be thrown off with these negative signs. Like if this was like x minus 3. 3 and 3 only is our x coordinate of our center. It's not this negative 3. The negative is part of the equation. So that's why a negative 3 does not go here. That's not correct. It is just 3. Because x minus is part of the equation. So I'll be talking more about that as we go forward. The radius is r. So if we see our equation is r squared, in order to get our radius, we have to square root that right side. So basically, class, as long as you know where the center of your circle is, and as long as you know the radius, you can put it into any equation. In the same way, as long as you know the equation of a circle, you can find the center and the radius very, very quickly. So those are going to be common themes as we go through today. Number 1, write the equation and graph. So our equation is right here, so it'll always be on the top right-hand corner that you can refer back to. So it's x minus h, which is the x coordinate of the center. X minus a negative 1, that quantity squared, plus y minus k, which is a negative 5, that quantity squared, that equals the radius squared. Now I'm showing my work quite a bit on this one. You wouldn't have to do that, and I'm not going to do that in future times, but I wanted you to get a good idea about what the equation of a circle is. So now this minus a minus becomes plus, so it's x plus 1 quantity squared plus y plus 5 quantity squared. That equals the radius squared, which is 4. This is how I want you to answer these questions, and this is certainly how Excel Math wants you to answer them. So now graphing it, what I like to do on this one, if the radius is 2, the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on that circle. So here's the center of my circle. It's at left 1, down 5. At 2 units away, there's the edge of my circle. Now I like to do 2 points in every direction so I can get as well as possible a good representation of that circle. My circles still look pretty ugly when I draw them. I'm not very good at drawing circles, so I hope you're better than I am. But there's a rough estimate. Ugh. See, that was gross, wasn't it? We'll try it one more time. Here's a rough estimate of how that circle looks. If we wanted to get a compass or a protractor, that would help. But anyway, that's what we have for this one. So our next one. This one is a little bit more difficult. It says the endpoints of a diameter are at -4, 1, and 4, -5. So here's the endpoints of a diameter. Remember what a diameter is, class. A diameter is a chord that goes right through the center of the circle. So it's the longest distance from one edge of the circle to the other. An example, this right here would be the diameter of the circle. It goes right through it. This right here, obviously, not the diameter. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. So if we see 2 endpoints of a circle, we know that the center is right in between them. It is the middle of those 2 points. It is the mid of the 2 points. It is the midpoint. Hopefully I made that obvious, that to find the center, we need to find the midpoint. So our midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That's how we find our x coordinate. And y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That's how we find our y coordinate. So we have our x coordinates adding up, -4 plus 4 divided by 2. And our y coordinates, 1 plus a -5 divided by 2. All right, where is our center at? This makes 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. This makes a -4. A -4 divided by 2 is a -2. The center of my circle, so H and K, are at 0, -2. So right there. And hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, just using our eyesight, it looks like it's the center of the circle. All right, as I said at the beginning of the lesson, once you know H and K, your center of your circle, and once you know the radius, you can do the equation of any circle. So now I ask you this question, class. What is that radius? The radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on that circle. So there would be a radius. Or right here to here, that would be a radius. Is there any way that you can find that green distance? Is there any way you can find the distance between those 2 points? Is there any way that you can find the distance, distance, distance? Hopefully, just like the midpoint, you see, well, I better find the distance between 2 points, which is x2 minus x1, that quantity squared, plus y2 minus y1, quantity squared. Just to let you know, class, a lot of people make the mistake, they try to find the distance between these 2 points. That's not the radius, that's the diameter. The radius is the distance from the center, which is right here, which is this one, to any point on that circle, which we're going to use this one right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right 4, down 5, and this one is at 0, -2. Let's find the distance between those 2 points. Subtract the x's and square them. So we have 4 minus 0, that quantity squared, plus, subtract the y's, a -5, minus a -2, that quantity squared. And now we simplify. 4 minus 0 is 0, or sorry, 4 minus 0 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. Plus, a -5 plus 2 is a -3, a -3 squared is 9. So now we have the square root of 16 and 9, which makes the square root of 25. So our distance is 5 units long. And another way of saying our distance is 5 units long is our radius. That's what we found is 5 units long. All right, let's finish up this question. To find the equation of the circle, we now have HK, and we now have the radius. So once again, the center here was at 0, -2, I believe. Yes, 0, -2. So your common theme when you do this Excel math objective is always find the center and always find the radius. And now you can say it is x minus h, so x minus 0 quantity squared, plus y minus k, which k is a -2, so y minus a -2, so it'd be y plus 2, that quantity squared, equals the radius squared, which is 25. 5 squared is 25. Here is your answer. And just to let you know, class, Excel math might not have their answer exactly like this. If you were to take this and FOIL it, x minus 0 times x minus 0, then you would get x squared minus 0x minus 0x plus 0. Obviously, this just becomes 0, and you just get x squared. So more than likely, Excel math would answer their question like this. X squared plus y plus 2 quantity squared, that equals 25. So just keep your eye out for that. All right, next one. It says the center is at 3, -2, and it's tangent to the y-axis. Remember what the word tangent means. A tangent line is a line that hits a curve in one and only one spot, exactly one spot. So here is our y-axis. Our circle touches that y-axis in one spot. Did I ever graph this one over here? I didn't, did I? Our distance is, our radius is 5 units. So from our center, let's go 5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go 5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And try to connect all those dots. Once again, I'm a bad circle drawer. Something like that. All right, now we're ready for number 3. So if it's tangent to the y-axis, it means that my circle, when it comes around, here's the center of my circle, right here. So it's going to come around and it's going to touch the circle at just one point, and it's going to make something that looks like that. That's just a rough estimate. What I want you to understand is the word tangent. Tangent touches that red line at one and only one spot. So if you think about it, class, if my circle touches the y-axis right about there, what is my radius? What is my distance from the center of my circle to the edge of that circle? It is 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 units. So my radius is 3. As I expressed at the beginning, as long as you know your center and as long as you know your radius, you can write the equation of any circle. So it's going to be x minus h, x minus 3, that quantity squared, plus y minus a minus 2, or y plus 2, that quantity squared, that equals the radius squared, which the radius is 3. So 3 squared is 9. And here's my answer for problem number 3. Problem number 4, we're going in the opposite order. This time we're given the equation of a circle, and we want to find what the center is and what the radius is. I always like to start with the radius. R squared is on the right side. So r squared equals 9. So the radius is always the square root of what's ever on the right side, which is 3. Oftentimes when we take the square root, we need both the plus and the minus. However, with this lesson, that isn't necessary. The reason for that is because the radius is always a positive distance. So the radius is 3. The center is always at HK. And like I talked about at the beginning of the lesson, x minus is part of the equation. Y minus is part of my equation, so that stays in there. So what do we draw from? We just take the positive 4 and we take the positive 1. That is my HK. So my vertex is at 4 and 1. If you want to think of it, class, as always taking the opposite, I have no problem with you having that mentality. If you see x minus 4, you got to take the positive 4. If you see x minus 1, you have to take the opposite and take the positive 1. I have no problem if that is your rationale for doing the center of a circle. So now let's graph it. Your center's at 4, 1, so go right 4, up 1. And then go 3 in every direction. Go up 3, over 3, left 3, down 3. And then draw your circle. Hopefully that one makes sense. Next one, number 5. If we want to get our radius, r squared equals 1. So what is the square root of 1? It is just 1. So my radius is 1 unit long, not a very big circle. My center is at HK. Now remember, this right here is kind of like saying x minus 0 quantity squared. So my x coordinate is this one right here. It is 0. And then my y coordinate is 3. So at 0, 3, I have the center of my circle. And then my radius, I'm going to go 1 to the right, 1 up, 1 to the left, and 1 down. And there is my mini circle. That's what we have for question number 5. Number 6 and number 7 get quite a bit more difficult, so make sure you take good notes on these ones so that you could tackle them on accelerated math. We don't even have anything close to the equation of a circle right now. The equation of a circle is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. I don't see any binomials squared up here. So how do we get one of these binomials squared? Our review lesson from yesterday was a review lesson on completing the square. What we have to do, class, is we have to complete the square here 2 different times to get 2 different parentheses. Once using the x variables and once using the y variables. So take notes very, very closely on this one. We're going to get the x's together. X squared plus 8x. Here's my x squared. Here's my 8x. I'm getting my x's together, and then I'm going to have a blank right here because I'm going to complete that square. Plus, now I'm going to get my y's together. Y squared minus 6y plus a blank. That equals my 0. Now if I have 2 blanks on the left side, I need to have 2 blanks on the right side. So that's how I'm going to set up this first one. All right, how do we get this number in the blank? The blank is b divided by 2 quantity squared. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. Same thing over here. B divided by 2 squared. A negative 6 divided by 2 is a negative 3. A negative 3 squared is 9. If I add 16 to the left, I got to add 16 to the right. If I add 9 to the left, I got to add 9 to the right. Now, we got to make this part right here into a binomial squared. That's what completing the square does. So this is x plus 4 times x plus 4, or x plus 4 quantity squared. Same thing here. We got to make this into a binomial squared, which is y minus 3 quantity squared. That equals my right side, which is 16 plus 9 plus 0 is 25. And there we are, success! I have x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals the radius squared. So my radius is the square root of 25. My radius is 5 units. My center is at h, so it's at a negative 4, and it's at k, which is at a positive 3. And there you have it. Now we're going to plot this on our graph. I'm going to erase some of this. Hopefully you guys were able to write small enough where you didn't have to write on your graph paper. Our center is at left 4, up 3. And then my radius is 5 in every direction. And there is our circle. All right, you guys try number 7 on your own. Pause the video. You're going to have to complete the square twice, just like you did on number 6. So here's how you should have did when you did this one on your own. X squared plus 4x plus a blank plus y squared. That equals a positive 8 plus a blank. You only need to complete the square once on this one because there's no y to the first term on here. So you already have your y squared, and that's all you need for that one. So to get this other x coordinate, you take b divided by 2 and square it. So you get a 4 right there. If you add 4 to the left, you got to add 4 to the right. Now, this right here is a binomial squared. That binomial is x plus 2 quantity squared. Plus, you have this y squared all by itself. That equals 8 plus 4, which equals 12. So your center is at hk, which is at a negative 2 and 0. And your radius is the square root of 12. So your radius is the same thing as 2 times the square root of 3. 2 square root 3. If you're graphing this on your paper, hopefully you took that in your calculator. 2 times the square root of 3 is approximately 3.46. So when you graph this one, you're going to go left 2, 0. And then you're going to go about 3.5 to the right, 3.5 up, 3.5 left, and 3.5 down. And that is how you do problem number 7. We didn't have to complete the square twice on this one like I originally said. I apologize for that, class, because there's no y to the first term. There's only a y squared term. So you don't have to complete the square at all on this one. Your y coordinate is 0 because there's no y to the first, in which case there's no constant term. So that's why the reason for that is on problem number 7. Our assignment is objectives 92 through 96. They're not necessarily easy, so be sure to ask me questions if you need to. Ask your classmates some questions to give you a little bit more feedback, but hopefully this video lesson made sense to all of you as well.